Howdy, howdy, friends, and welcome back to another edition of the ONETA Show, brought to you by PTE Creative. Now, today, a little bit different episode. It's going to be visual only, not audio only. You can listen to it if you really want to. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit different activity. We're going to be naming every single Pokemon per generation, at least through Gen 2, maybe Gen 3. I'm going to make sure you get about 30 minutes of content. You're going to see the mania in my head come through. Let's get over to Pokemon Quiz right now and go do that. We're going to start with Gen 1. So over to Gen 1, we have ourselves on Pokemon Quiz 151 Pokemon. You can see which ones I failed to do so. I have done this a little bit before, but there's this awesome little feature here called Shadows that you can use. So where you get stumped, you can go to Shadows. I never try to do that, but I've done it before, so we'll see how that one goes. I'm going to get you at least 30 minutes of content here in this podcast, so that's why we're going to try to do a podcast. It's more of just a show right now, so let's have some fun with it. I just got to say, Gen 1 the designs are so well done because they're simplistic, and they make you understand what the Pokemon's all about relatively quickly, with few exceptions. What I think is most interesting when I look at visual design of these Pokemon is they tell the character straightforward. That's one of the biggest things that I feel some things really struggle with, in which I think Digimon struggles with that terribly, which is why Digimon doesn't catch on the same way Pokemon does. And almost nothing in this world has ever caught on like Pokemon does, so it's a big thing to say that. However, when we go through here and look at some of these designs straightforward format, it's important to note that we get the message across right away. That's one of the biggest things that you can do in character design. I'm still working on it myself. It's not as though I'm some master artist. I'm a big comic book guy, so I look at the guys like Jim Lee, Greg Capullo. Back in the day, Neil Adams did a great job with this. George Perez, Jack Kubert, all these guys, Jack Kirby, in which you had these phenomenal artists that had to tell the story of these new characters very quickly, visually. You had to give the vibe about them so much. For instance, I look at Marvel. Sometimes you look at characters like Sentry, and you're like, what's that guy about? But then you see somebody like Blade or Captain America, and you're like, yeah, I get it. Straightforward, I get it. And it's pretty impressive to see that happen right away. So it's really interesting to think about what you have to do, and that's what these Pokemon in Generation 1 are really good at, is telling you the character right away. I always forget that those two are separated. Not Pidgeotto. Okay. Ekans. Arbok. Spearow. Theero. So everyone generally does pretty well at the first 25, I would say. As, they're iconic. That's what you see first for the most part. True Sandslash. It's when you get into the randos that it gets a little rough for me specifically. Queen, Reno. There we go. So it's just interesting to see how things progress in this game. I think that's the biggest thing, is there's a lot of Pokemon fans out there with the modern games where they want to think that they want linear progression, but yet they want more departures. And I will say, we don't get a ton of great monster designs out of this in terms of we go from one thing to something polar opposite. We don't really get that in Gen 1. We get a lot of linear progression, which I like linear progression. I think that's actually a plus. I don't necessarily like the Digimon model where it just jumps from one thing to another. There needs to be a logical thought process to it, to me, which is why I think Pokemon connects so much versus somebody versus a style of design in which it just jumps from one thing to another. It's okay if you take a leap. That's fine. But just kind of getting all that Gen 1 stuff out of my head right now. In what you're doing, you need there needs to be some sort of progression. It can't just be, okay, it's a cannon. Well, now it's a surfboard. Now it's a you need to have some linear progression to it, and that's kind of the beauty of Pokemon in general right here, which is what I really enjoy about it and move forward with a lot. Get my favorite right out of the way with Arcanine. My fave. Another favorite of mine is Psyduck and Golduck. What else is around Pewter City? Diglett Cave. Right, that always gives me to these guys because they have multiple heads. it's the whole complex kind of thing is always fun and interesting to see how the brain works. It's always what I enjoy about this, which is really interesting and unique to see. But I do like the weirdness of some of these Pokemon coming through, Doduo and Dodrio. They're not really loved like they should be, which is kind of a shame because they bring together so much character. I just don't think with so much brown it kind of holds them back a little bit. Alright, go. What else do I catch early on? Oddish, Gloom, Vileplume. Might as well do the inverse. Bellsprout, Bell, Victory Bell. One of my absolute favorite Gen 1 designs is Victory Bell. I think Victory Bell is so underrated as a Pokemon design. It's so intelligently designed, very smart. Cubone, Marowak. It's weird how things start pulling out. What else happens over there? So now Cerulean City. Cerulean City, you obviously gotta look at Staryu, Starmie, Goldeen, Seaking. Then I think anime with Misty, so I think Magikarp, Gyarados. And just keeping on the waterfront. Lapras, Tentacruel. A lot of names that are similar, which I actually think is a smart decision. Now, I might just be a Gen 1er at heart because that's where I started, but really like how we get linear progression there as well. I think that's very smart. This is over there in the Seafoam Islands. Always a great place to go. Krabby, Kingler. Alright, let's go back a little bit. Reverse in that. Okay. Electric types. What else am I missing? Voltorb, Electrode, Electabuzz. Okay. 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 Oh. Okay. Oh. Oh. Fossil. Alright, so Kabuto, Kabutops, Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is a Pokemon that doesn't get enough credit. It's a very cool design. Really would like to see it go forward, and I would love to see some regional variants on the fossils. I think that'd be a pretty cool idea. I might even pull that into one of our Pokemon projects in the future into doing that. And then Celadon, you have Porygon. What else do you get in Celadon? Eevee, Flareon, Jolteon. Oh, I didn't spell it right. That would help. Porygon. Alright, what else do we get in that general region? Pinsir, Scyther. Now I'm just kind of jumping all over the map, but that's okay. That happens. That happens, man. That that dare happens there, man. That dare happens there, man. Because now I'm kind of in Safari Zone Pokemon, so Shanks, Dratini, Dragonair, Dragonite. What other Pokemon can you get there? What other Pokemon can you get in the Safari Zone that I am forgetting? Alright, skip it. We'll back. Alright. Lavender Town, obviously some of my favorite stuff there. Gotta love. It's a shame they didn't have more ghost Pokemon in Gen 1. Dabra. And it's a shame they didn't have more Gen 1 ghost types. I think that'd be really wise to do. I think they were going to do Paradox Pokemon for the region. I think they do a few more ghost types. Or if we do get any more regional variants, I think that'd be really interesting to see. Alright, what else can I get early? Poliwag. Poliwhirl. Poliwrath. Poliwrath ends with fighting. We're at the fighting gym. Saffron City. Am I forgetting anything in Celadon? Oh, a lot of rockets, so. Coughing. Wheezing. See our first Snorlax, technically, even though you can see a Snorlax already before that. Which is cool. Already got Farfetch. That's great. Those out of the way. Alright. Fighting gym. Fighting gym. Fighting gym. Hitmonlee. Hitmonchan. And what else can we have with that? Machop. Machop. Machoke. Machamp. Great. Good. Like it. We like it a lot. So forgot Paris and Parasect. So the big thing for me here is when we're looking at a lot of character design, that's always what I'm going back to all the time is character design. It's character design, character design, character design, character design. Because it's the stuff that I always get an early game Mankey, and I always try to get Primeape because Primeape's dope. Especially Annihilate. What a great extension of that in Gen 9. What I love about some of these is we get some weirdness later on, as you could tell. Look at all the linear progression. You see the entire first two lines that I've filled, super linear. Small guy goes to bigger, goes to medium guy, goes to bigger guy. Guy being just general terminology here. So all those just stop to stop to stop to stop to stop. Meanwhile, when we get to those mid-tier Pokemon, you start seeing weird styles of progression. Where Ghastly going to Haunter, it's like a little wispy, and then it goes to a fully fleshed out ghost, and then to a standing demon looking thing. So it's interesting to see that. But it's right next to like a rock snake, or a seal that evolves into a larger seal. So it's a very interesting dichotomy that you have here to play with that I think is really fun, honestly, because that's where you can have some more fun. And then when you get into those unique monster designs, Scyther, Jinx, Electabuzz, Pinsir, those are the kind of Pokemon that really make the whole thing stand out. Rhyhorn, Rhydon, Ditto in the Pokemon Mansion. Can't stand Ditto, but Ditto nonetheless is there. So we get a lot of fun with that. 126. It's usually where I stall out and have to use shadows. I'm going to try to do it without shadows. Let's just fill in what we can fill in first, though. Obviously, Articuno, Zapdos, Trace, Mewtwo, because we already got Mew there as well. Also, if you haven't noticed, the Ditto icon always changes to the last Pokemon, which I find really fun and interesting to just kind of play with and enjoy. It's just so much fun to see those things going that way. This gap here next to Rhydon always throws me off, as does after Golem. And it's always the evolutions that you completely forget about. That's the crazy part. Is like, how do you forget all these evolutions? Because there's clearly evolutions there with 2 gaps around. Did I forget any much? 131 without shadows, pretty darn good. Forget any fighting type Pokemon? No. Psychic type Pokemon. Oh. Drowsy. Hypno. That's a great gap to fill like that. Any other rando type? Venonat. Venonat. That's why you always do your random. Another thing I usually do earlier in this is go through the team's aces, but if the gym leaders don't have any, I'm not thinking about it properly, then I completely screw it up. Because we did Onix, we did Starmie, we did Raichu, we did Vileplume, now we did Venomoth, Alakazam. Most people do, it's weird, I always do Sabrina 6, and I found out a lot of people do that 5th. Strange to me. It's just the way my brain works, I guess, the first time I pulled it off, so I went back to Saffron City. Okay, the fighting gym is in there, but we got both Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee in there. Then Arcanine, Rhydon. Not really any specific Victory Road Pokemon to the best of my knowledge here. Did I miss any sea-bearing Pokemon? I don't think so. It's gonna kill me. It's gonna kill me to do this. But for the sake of the show and the sake of continuing to play with these Pokemon, I think it might be Shadow time. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna do Shadows now. Alright, reveal our shadows. Oh my god, I do it every time! I always think about one of my favorites. Always forget about Slowpoke and Slowbro. I almost never forget Ponyta and Rapidash, and yet now I'm doing it all the time. Lickitung, that doesn't bother me. Lickitung sucks, I hate Lickitung. Chansey is one I almost always remember. Execute is one I always forget, as is Executor. That is one of those that's kind of the crazier progressions that I think is kind of fun because it makes it unique. Kangaskhan. Oh, I don't know how I always forget Horsey and Seadra. I mean, I love Kingdra. I think that's the thing. I figure it it's like, well, what do I have to do to get there? Grimer, Muck, that makes sense. Mr. Mime, frankly, that's probably my brain just saying I hate you, which is fair. And then Magmar, I don't really like Magmar, so that's fine. 17 minutes, I did the most without shadows that I think I've ever done that. That's totally fine. Appreciate 17:55. A minute of that was about me blowing my nose, too, so that's cool. Alrighty, but go support Pokemon Quiz. Let's go to Gen 2, though. I hear you guys are really liking PT Creative's content. And you know what? You should, because it's pretty rad. You may even want to support the channel even more. Well, there's a way you can do it and reward yourself. And that's by going to our Etsy shop. Head on over to PTE Creative's Etsy shop and you can find all kinds of cool merch like you see on screen. You may be watching some of our Pokemon themed content and going, I'd love some merch there. You can do that. You can even get our custom Fakemon stickers right there, or stickers of existing Pokemon, t-shirts, or mystery packs. But you may be saying, I don't know if Pokemon's maybe my vibe. You know what, that's fine, because we got all kinds of fun, snarky millennial content and sports-related things over at the Etsy shop as well. You maybe got some big bench warmer energy that you just got to spread with the world. Or maybe you just need to tell people that you hope both teams are having fun as they're playing, because it's just all about vibes to you. And you hate to see it. You'd hate to see it if you didn't get your merch. You can go get that merch right here, right now. Head on over to Etsy. Go to etsy.com/shop/PTE Creative and go get yourself some awesome merch and go support a local content creator in this community we call the internet. Hope y'all see some great merch coming soon from Etsy. Go to PT Creative on Etsy and get yourself some great merch. No! Haven't done the Gen 2 quiz ever, so that'll be fun. We'll start with one of my favorite lines in Chikorita. Right, Bayleaf. Meganium. Meganium is a... I'm going to talk about Meganium in a second, because I think Meganium is one of the most underrated Pokemon ever, and I will talk about that. But I want to look character progression-wise, where... Go back to Executor. Execute to Executor makes kind of no sense, which is why it's kind of awesome. Egg then goes into Giant Palm Tree. That's one of the few that may make a leap, but yet somehow because of the egg format, it works really well because you're seeing the multiple head thing. That's pretty cool, and I think is really fun on the part of Pokemon. No, Gen 2 pretty much has a similar progression. I don't think it's till you get Gen 3 you get a little bit, but when you get into the higher gens, that's when we're getting bigger leaps away from linear progression Pokemon in terms of getting bigger, getting bigger, getting bigger. I think that's ultimately pretty fun to do and to see. Alright, Totodile goes into Croconaw. Croconaw evolves into Froligator. I always can't stand that spelling. That spelling bothers me. Spinarak. Gyarados. I know Spinarak is there. How do I spell Spinarak? Ah, double A. Okay. Sentret. And... Alright. Oh my god, I almost forgot what Sentret evolved into. I knew it was some weird looking tube thing, so... Oh god, that was gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna go to Pokemon that always throw me off because I don't use them ever, or I didn't use them early, and I haven't really played a lot of Heart Gold ever, which is crazy. It's just my computer doesn't run it very well, or things of that nature. What are some randos? Oh, sorry, not Weavile, Sneasel. Sneasel in this. Alright. Swinub, underrated. Piloswine. I think Piloswine is actually better than Mamoswine, but we're seeing a little bit more of the double A into the double F makes no sense. It always bothers me. Heracross. We're seeing a little bit more of the randomization here, which is really fun to see. Let's get the two Steels out of the way. Scizor, Steelix, which is a great evolution to have. Although Steelix isn't as powerful as it likes to be. That's kind of the problem with Onyx. Is it almost has a glass cannon kind of vibe because it's just so weak, but nonetheless fun to see and enjoy. Oh. Hoot, one of my favorites, into Noctowl, one of my absolute favorites. I think Noctowl is a beautiful design, one of the best designs you can find in Gen 2. That great horn piece for a horned owl is just so smart. It's just so smart. Gotta love it. You gotta love it. Now, I'd say let's go through Pokemon Aces, but the problem is most of the Gen 2 Pokemon gym leaders don't actually have an ace from Johto. So that's not going to help me much here. So now I'm just going to kind of start working backwards and see what I can do. Lugia, Ho-Oh, Tyranitar, Pupitar, Larvitar. What a ridiculous leveling system on those three. just really interesting and unique, but always drives me up the freaking wall. Just fuck. Like, come on. Work with me, man. Work with me. Alright, let's see. What else do we have here? What else do we have here? Working backwards did not help us nearly as much as I thought it would. And I'm trying to like talk character design with you. Okay, I'll just get this one out of the way. Unknown. Pseudo voodoo. Right. Struvis. Mill tank. Okay, Whitney's mill tank. Out of the way. Morty does use a Mistress somewhere in there. At least some of his gym does, I think. Which is good. Mill tank. Obviously great. Oh my god, I'm way worse at Gen 2 than I thought I would be. Wow. This is brutal. And they... Okay. Nope. Think of what they made. Think of what they did. One of the new things for Gen 2 was the Dark type. One of the best additions was Houndour and Houndoom. That was so smart. Again, linear progression, but showing a little bit more fun. That's really enjoyable there. To see that, that's very cool. Enjoyable. And yet, here we still are. Alright, I'm just going to go to my legendaries. Entei, Raikou, Suicune. How am I forgetting this much of Gen 2? Gen 2 is my favorite gen! This is so painful in so many ways that it's killing me. It's killing me right now. You want to see new Pokemon, but then you kept getting old favorites. Oh. Quillfish. It's one of the randos. Now you're seeing the mania set in here, folks. Beyond the ridiculousness of the design work. So, hate to keep going back and forth on there. Cause it's crazy when you think back at Gen 2, so much of it is highlighted by Kanto stuff. Or even like Red Gyarados is one of the hypest things there is. And it's a Kanto Pokemon. It's not a Johto Pokemon. And it gets the shiny thing out of the way. That's cool, but I should know so much more Gen 2 because I'm collecting the Neo sets right now, which is... Alright, let's think easy. Murkrow, one of my favorites. Thankfully, I just did that Dark type set over on the... What are the other Dark type lines? Houndour, Houndoom, Umbreon, Murkrow, Tyranitar. There's one more. Oh, Sneasel. Duh. Okay. Skarmory. There's not a whole lot of steel types, though. Forretress, I think it's steel. So it's Forretress. Oh, Hitmontop. Thank you. If I can't even get to 50 right now, I'm going to be embarrassed. Embarrassed because of what I'm doing right now. Mantine. Chinchou. Lantern. And you got all the baby Pokemon. My god, think of the gimmicks. Igglybuff. Togepi. Togetic. The baby line is so underrated. I wish they would have done more with that. Cleffa. It's another baby Pokemon. Elekid. That was a good one to have. Magby. Happiny is Gen 4. Blissey is Gen 2, though. So it's fun to get some evolutions to these other Pokemon. Oh, Tyrogue. So, you got those baby Pokemon out of the way now. Magby, Elekid, Tyrogue, Picleffa, Pichu. New evolutions, new evolutions, new evolutions. This is one of the only. Pinsir didn't get one. No, Scyther got Scizor. Already took care of that. Also, Hitmontop. Underrated Pokemon. Really smart design there. Claire used all. I'm going to go to Shadows. I got over 50. That's sad that I can't get more than that. These two up front are going to kill me because you could see just such easy progressions here. This giant chunk here also just pains me. It just shows me how much of that game I've just completely forgotten. I might have to just go back and play Crystal just to have some fun and see where I was going with it and why it took me so long. Alright, let's use the Shadows. Oh my god. Oh, duh. I should have got Ladybug. Definitely should have got Ledian. Crobat is an obvious one that I should have got. Bellossom is one of my favorite Pokemon. Definitely should have got Bellossom. Marill and Azumarill, I'll give myself a little bit of a pass on because I generally avoid them, even though they're great for competitive play in Gen 9. Azumarill is actually pretty great once it has that fairy typing. Natu and Xatu are just forgotten about. Politoed. I don't know what it is with the polys that I'm forgetting a lot of this. Hoppip, I should definitely remember because I think Jumpluff is one of my favorites as well. Skiploom, Jumpluff. Apom is completely forgettable. Sunkern is frankly forgettable, as is Sunflora. Sunflora is just a sunflower. Yanma is kind of by itself, doesn't make sense in this generation because it's just kind of all over the place there. Slowking is definitely one I should have got. Wobbuffet is definitely one I should have got. Girafarig is definitely one I should have got. Dunsparce, no one cares about Dunsparce. Anyone who says they wanted a better Dunsparce, no you didn't. No you didn't. Gligar, fine. Snubbull is kind of Gen 2 iconic in a weird way, even though it doesn't play that well. Shuckle's completely forget about. Teddiursa hurts me. And then we also have Ursaring. My god, love Ursaring. And then to get Ursaluna later on is so much more fun. Alrighty. Magcargo evolves from Slugma, Corsola, Remoraid, Tillery, Delibird, absolutely a favorite of mine. Can't believe that. I did it again. Oh my god. How do I keep forgetting Kingdra? How? I love Kingdra. It's my top 10 favorite Pokemon. I adore Kingdra. I just made a meta evolution of it. Donphan, great. Porygon 2, forgettable. Stantler, I actually love Stantler. I think Stantler's great. Smeargle, should remember that because I just took a Pokemon personality quiz, which I highly recommend you take. It's really fun. If I can find the link for it, I will put it in the description of this video. So, Smeargle was one of the Pokemon that I was quote-unquote Smoochum. I knew I forgot a stupid. Use Shadows. Got more than half without the Shadows. Some of them I definitely didn't need had I just thought about it for a second. Not panicked, but I was panicking, which is dumb. 14 minutes, 20 seconds. Pretty good for Gen 2. God, that pains me. Pains me so much. It hurts me. But I want to see... Can I click off you? Yeah. So, when we're looking at character design, I told you I'd get back to Meganium. Meganium number 1. Super underrated Pokemon. Everyone likes to say it's too simple. I don't really care. Love it. All 3 of the final starters of Gen 2 have a bit of a under-designed quality to them. Everyone says it's Meganium because it's just a dinosaur with a flower neck. Okay. Typhlosion is just Quilava without the coolness of it with a flame collar. Feraligatr just gets more spikes and it loses the awesome prehistoric loincloth look that Crocodile has. So Meganium is just so underrated. I adore it. It's problematic to use early on in Johto. I understand that. I really do. Weak to flying, weak to bug. It's painful. Then you get to normal. It's not a super boost against Whitney's team. It could be hit or miss depending on the attack with your ghost type teams. However, Meganium is just so cute, so fun, enjoyable. We love Meganium here on the channel. But some highlights here. Noctowl, phenomenal. I think Crobat's a great evolution. Togepi is tremendous as a baby Pokemon, really showing it off. Xatu should get more love than it does, but like I said, it's forgettable. Ampharos is a great line. Bellossom, chef's kiss there. I love the linear progressions of Hoppip, but it's still different. That's a really fun way to take it. And then you get Pokemon, just looking forward. The Larvitar line is an interesting one because it's not super linear, but it's kind of cool. Because that almost goes through a bug-like phase. That's a really interesting way to handle that. But then you have weird kind of Pokemon out there where, Sudowoodo by itself. It's a rock tree based off a bonsai tree. That's interesting and fun. The Phanpy Donphan line kind of makes sense. So it's just a weird, interesting generation. Beautifully designed. There's not really any duds. If you're going to say there's duds, it's just a few. There's not really any bad Pokemon here, which I really appreciate. That's the fun of it all. Now, howdy, fellow PT creative fans out there. We have a project near and dear to our hearts that we really want you to check out. Over on our YouTube channel, you can go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project. It's one of our favorite projects we've ever gotten the chance to work on, where we're creating new Pokemon on a weekly basis and creating our own Fakemon region. They're called the Helzari region. There you're going to see new starter Pokemon, or as you can see to your right if you're on video, a new Eevee evolution. So many cool new Pokemon and vibes are going to be found here on the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, and it's going to help your day out. Go support some art that you would love to see. Go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, available every single Wednesday on PT Creative. Go check it out now. Hey friends, I know you're enjoying this show, but we want to prime you for a new show. Go check out the weekly schedule over at PT Creative and find your new favorite podcast or show to watch. Monday and Thursday, you get the Far Out Football podcast with news, analysis, and notes of the NFL season, plus great projects during the off-season like draft analysis and what-if questions like what if the NFL expanded. Tuesday, go to the ONETA Show for absurd takes and fun all around. The topics in entertainment, gaming, movies, television, you name it, ONETA Show is going to talk about it. Wednesday, you can go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, in which new Pokemon are being designed every single week as we create the Helzari Fakemon region. Friday, it's kind of a fun, laid-back day over at PT Creative. You can go open some brand new Pokemon card packs, or get some new specials and seasonal content coming your way on a Friday. And finish your week out with the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast on Saturdays. Get great movie recommendations, learn some movie history, and just have a grand old time listening to some dialogue. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun over on Saturdays, just like it is every single day over at PTE Creative. Go check out new podcasts, new content, new shows every single Monday through Saturday over at PTE Creative. Now enjoy the rest of your show. Appreciate you guys sticking with me. It's a very interesting episode nonetheless. We did Gens 1 and Gen 2. Maybe one day we'll go do the rest. I'll try not to cheat and study in ahead of time, even though I'm constantly studying Pokemon for the Bliss Oblivion Project. So that's always the thing that I need to think about as I'm doing things. However, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the podcast. I might put this up on Spotify if you really want to, however, and just enjoy sometimes it's supposed to be fun and do some life stuff. I just want to do something fun today. So, peace, love, and hugs to you all. I'll catch you on the next one.